wanted to talk about, my man. You've been kind of like hedging it for every other question. So let's get into it. Talk about the coaching. Let's go positive first, man. Let's start with the positives. I know you were really high on what D'Amico Ryans did this game. So let's talk about that before we get into your feelings about Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, 1000%. We talked last week. We talked about D'Amico Ryans, how this is his first year. And I said it not only on this show, but I said it all week in Twitter spaces and what have you, that you cannot expect a rookie head coach to make all of the adjustments that need to be made. And Grant made a really, really good analogy when I did the show with him on Wednesday. He said, D'Amico can drive the car, but if the car breaks down, can he also be the mechanic? And that's where Saleh got really good. If players were missing to where it didn't fit the scheme that he wanted to run, he was able to make those adjustments. Well, can D'Amico Ryans be that guy? And I said, it's not fair to expect him to be that guy, at least not this early in. I mean, we're talking about year one. This is now only 2 games in. But, oh my gosh, talk about adjustments. First of all, the wide 9 was non-existent early in that
just
game.
Crumpled that up and threw it over his shoulder and said, like,
yeah,
that's not
exactly.
in our playbook anymore.
Yeah. So the wide 9 was non-existent. I mean, we can talk about adjustment after adjustment. When they had their backs against the wall, I know that Fred made some big plays there, right? But he's an all-pro. He's supposed to make those plays. D'Amico Ryans put him in great spots to make those plays. He was not tricked by anything that the Eagles did. I think he put the secondary in great positions. I just felt like overall, really outside of one drive, he had the perfect game plan in that game. And it was phenomenal to see adjustment after adjustment. I think it was right at the beginning of the third quarter, the very first drive for the Eagles. He put Bosa on the right tackle over there. Immediately, Bosa gets to the quarterback, gets a sack. I just felt like every adjustment he made was right on point. He was very aggressive with some of his blitzes, and they weren't BS blitzes. A lot of times I felt like when Saleh would blitz, he would show blitz and he would blitz the wrong guy, or he would just blitz up the A gaps repeatedly with the linebackers, and it was obvious what was coming. Not here. They sent blitzes from all different areas. I mean, he had corners blitzing from 10 yards back. He had safeties blitzing. He had linebackers blitzing or dropping back in coverage. I just felt like it was super exotic. I cannot say enough good things about what D'Amico Ryans did in this game. I am so excited to see what he brings the rest of the season. And, he's going to have his growing pains, but I am happy that he is our defensive coordinator because what he showed this early on is absolutely incredible.
Look, he's shown the ability to say I was wrong, right? And which is something that I know you're a big, detractor from Kyle Shanahan, that we don't really see that from him. He saw the wide 9 got gashed, and he was, he looked at the tape and he's like, look, we're not playing this anymore. I was wrong for putting it in, and it's not working for us. So let's move on to another scheme. I'm very high on him as well. I was somebody who thought it was gonna be a seamless transition, and we won't really see a fall off from this defense. He's making me out to be a prophet right now because this defense still looks great, even though we've lost. Think about the losses we've had: Dre Greenlaw, Jason Verrett, Kinlaw is in and out. So like to still have this defense be as dominant as it is, and show like what it's capable of, I think is a testament to him. Last week, getting gashed by the running game. This week, as far as called runs for the Eagles, they were around 60 yards, which is, that's great. That's good. They're gonna get some yards off of carries, but definitely I think he fixed that. Now the next phase, it seems like he's fixing one thing at a time, right? So he fixed the whole running game situation. Now the next thing is, how do we contain these mobile quarterbacks? So that's the only thing that I really saw that they didn't really make a good adjustment to, is how to contain Jalen Hurts in that pocket and not keep him from gashing us. But I have all the confidence in the world that he'll look at the tape and figure out, what needs to be done. And we'll see it next week, against Green Bay. I mean, Obviously, Aaron Rodgers isn't the Jalen Hurts type mobility, but he's a pretty mobile quarterback. He likes getting out on the bootlegs and things like that to throw passes. So we shall see what he does. But I'm with you, man. A solid A for D'Amico Ryans. Would get an A+ if it wasn't for the mobile quarterback beating us. Nothing but praise for him, and for him to show this in week 2, I think is amazing, especially with the loss of some of the talent that he's gone down with and didn't even miss a beat. I think is really key.
I will say this too, for the most part, even though Hurts was able to get mobile and break the pocket, usually when that happens, the secondary blows it as well. Whatever he was doing back there, and I can't wait to put some eyes on the All-22, whatever he was doing on the back end, I mean, he was getting coverage sack after coverage sack. Now, when you get a coverage sack against a mobile quarterback, that means the mobile quarterback's probably going to pick up some yards because that's what he does. But he was still forcing Hurts to run the ball and beat him with his legs. Like Hurts was trying to keep his eyes downfield and make plays, and he couldn't do it because the back end coverage, even when the quarterback ran, they were so disciplined. They didn't come up and try to chase Hurts and put a receiver wide open for Hurts to make a big play, a gashing play. Nope. They stuck with what they needed to do. They played containment on the backside, and they trusted the linebackers and or defensive line to come up and make a play. And sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't. But on the back end, that secondary stayed extremely disciplined in those situations, and that was very encouraging.
I completely agree. I mean, I think just offhand, there was only really that one running play where Jimmy Ward had to come in, and that's just such a stupid rule, I think, because if Jimmy doesn't make that move, easily Hurts could cut the other way and go. But that was the only play where I felt like Hurts had just nothing but running room and there wasn't anybody in his vicinity. But other than that, there was, he was being chased by somebody, or there was somebody around him to where it wasn't just a large gashing play. But I'm going to have to hear it now. I'm coming from a Shannon stand, but I do know, there were some question marks here. So let's hear it, Jesse. Give it to me about how your feelings about Kyle Shanahan in this game.
Yeah, that's pretty much what filled the Twitter timeline, right? It was just going in on Shanahan. Listen, here's the thing. Going into this game, I said that the Eagles and the 49ers like to do the same thing, but in different ways. What I meant by that was both teams like to stretch the field horizontally. The 49ers do it through the run game to open up the middle for the pass game. The Eagles do it through the pass game to open up the middle for the run game. The Eagles did a fantastic job of playing to their strengths. Did they win the game? No. But early on, they were in control, and that was the reason why. The 49ers didn't get a first down at all in the first quarter. They also, surprise, surprise, did not have a single horizontal run. It was a bunch of up-the-middle runs. Yes, they had some screen plays that got ate up or dropped or whatever. But if you look at those plays, they weren't going to be big anyways. I just felt like Shanahan in that first quarter coached about as bad of an offensive game plan as I've seen him in a long time. It's like, man, just play to your strengths. And so I'm tweeting this after every drive. Why are you not stretching it horizontally? What are you doing? Kyle, run the ball, get some tosses, do what you got to do, but you've got to get horizontal on these guys. You're not going to run up the middle. That is not your strength. And that is the Eagles' strength. They are going to stop you up the middle. What does he do in the second quarter? Immediately comes out, starts hitting tosses, starts getting the ball out to the edges, and first down after first down after first down, they're not having any problems moving the ball. Now, did it result in a lot of points? No. But for the rest of the game, every time they went horizontal, they were just fine. They never had a backwards play, right? Anytime they went up the middle, it was an immediate stop for nothing or a loss of yards. So I didn't understand the game plan there. And I'm going to say this as well. He got extremely lucky to end that first half because they took over 3 minutes to get 45 yards down the field. And then in 30 seconds, they go the final 50 yards to score a touchdown. And everybody's fine with that because they scored. They're up 7-3. How the hell are they up? He didn't burn any timeouts. There was a lot of wasted clock. And yes, it ended up working out for him. But Jimmy, for all the guff that I give him, that might have been the best throw I've ever seen him make between two defenders to Debo, Both of those defenders immediately were taken out of the play, and Debo was able to get a huge gain off of it. And then the next play is when he hit Jennings for the touchdown, and they scored quick. Nobody says anything about it. But I felt like he completely mismanaged that clock. It looked like they weren't even trying to score points. He was content getting out of there down 3-0. And luckily, the offense kept moving the ball, moving the ball, moving the ball. And finally, they forced his hand to say, all right, let's go for it. But it was almost too little too late. I just don't like the way that he coached for the most part in that first half. I thought the second half he was fine. Again, they were getting out to the edges. They were stretching the field horizontally. They looked much better in the second half. The second quarter looked better than the first quarter, but that clock was completely mismanaged. If I was giving a grade to Shanahan on this one, I'm giving him a C-. I just think that he could have effed off that game, and he's lucky he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a head scratcher. I mean, we talked about it earlier in this telecast that a lot of the wow plays or the wow moments have left this offense, and it's not that we don't have the same personnel that was doing it. Like you said, it's a very vanilla offense. I think that he made some great adjustments because that defensive line was beating up our offensive line. So getting the ball out of Jimmy's hand quicker, like you said, the tosses and things like that, I think really contained that pass rush. And then we saw a clean Jimmy, and we saw the ball move down the field more and more now that that defensive line was held at bay. Yeah, I mean, overall with Kyle Shanahan, I'm just a little bit perplexed, man. I don't know what the game plan is. I don't like how he handled this offseason with the quarterbacks. I don't like how he's handling the wide receiver situation right now. It feels like there's just this cloud over the team. And maybe it's just from the fans' perspective. Maybe it's not like the actual team that feels that way. But at least from the outside looking in, it's just kind of like question mark after question mark. And obviously, none of us know football as well as Kyle Shanahan knows football and those guys. So I'm really assuming that there is a game plan there, and they're doing things for a reason. But I agree with you. I was wondering why we weren't calling any timeouts to save some time on the clock. It wasn't like the Eagles were gashing us in their offense to where we needed to keep no time on the clock for them. You know what I mean? Yeah, overall, I mean, the offense, I still haven't seen those wow moments from the offense. I thought, I don't know why we're not running like more jet sweeps. I don't know why Kittle isn't getting more, tight end screens, and he's getting more into the pass game. I don't know why Ayuk's not being used more. If we're going to go with Sherfield, why is Sherfield not being used more? If we're going to go with Sanu, why is Sanu not, why is there not a second option that's getting thrown to so that there's some diversity in our offense? Because it seems like some of these better defenses, or now that there's going to be some film, it looks like there's two things. It's going to be either running with Mitchell or it's going to be a pass to Debo. So if you are looking for those two things, and maybe that's the long play, maybe it's 4D chess that Shanahan is playing, and he's wanting everybody just to focus on Debo and Mitchell. And then that's when Sermon's going to have a big game and Kittle's going to have a big game. And all of a sudden, Ayuk is out of the doghouse and he's going and catching 10 passes for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Maybe that's what the game plan is. And then we could all be like, all right, you got us, Shanahan. But at this point, it just looks like an offense that we thought only needed a quarterback that could be a bona fide NFL starter, would be extremely dynamic. It seems like we've taken some steps back as far as the dynamicness. And I don't think it's really because Jimmy's playing bad. I mean, he's, like you said, he's doing what he needs to do. He's cleaned up the turnovers, which I think is great. He's more mobile. He seems to be throwing the ball better. So I'm with you, man. I'm a huge Shanahan. I love Kyle Shanahan. I love him as our coach, but I'm starting to see some chinks in the armor. And I think this is a real big season for him. Obviously you can't get mad. They're 2-0. whether it looked great or it didn't look great, right, Jesse? But we got to see. We're coming into the next 3 or 4 games are against potential playoff teams. I think this run we have to see them probably go 2-1, to really show that this team can contend and can be a playoff team, which we all expected going into this season. So I'll let you get the last word on this topic.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think over these next 3, they need to go 2-1. I mean, yes, we're happy to be 2-0, but 49er fans, when we looked at the schedule many, many months ago, everybody under the sun said that the 49ers would start 2-0. It all came down to game 3. And I said I thought the 49ers would easily start 3-0 because Green Bay were a horrible matchup for Green Bay. So nothing has happened outside of what expectation was going into the season. I felt like expectations slightly changed a little bit going into this game because of some of the injuries. People would have been okay if the 49ers had lost this game for some reason. But reality is they're 2-0. That's where they should be. That's where we all expected them to be. Now the test gets much harder. The next 3 games, can they go 2-1, go into that bye week 5-1, and show everybody that they are a force to be reckoned with? This is when the season gets real.
And we didn't really touch on it, but 504 Dimes put Trey Lance in the game. Going back to Kyle Shanahan, 2 QB system, all of a sudden this game, absolutely no sniff of Trey Lance. Were you okay with that? What did you think of that overall?
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. I felt like there's 3 right answers. Either play Jimmy all the way through, play Trey all the way through, and if you're going to mix and match, then you've got to put Trey out there in situations that are going to make him a better pocket passer if that's what you want him to work on. The fact that they didn't play him at all, I'm fine with that. I think that it's not what I want to do. It's not. I think Trey easily could have been 2-0 in these games. But again, if Jimmy's going to be the starter, we have to root for Jimmy. And Jimmy, if he's going to be the starter, it's only fair that he gets to be the starter. He shouldn't be going in and out of the game for Trey to come in and take over a 3rd down or what have you. It should just be his show. And until he proves that he shouldn't be the guy, just let him take all the snaps. I'm fine with that.
I agree. And I think these games are important for Jimmy as well. We look at him, he's been in the league for 8 years, but he's only really been a full-time starter for like 2.5 because of injuries, right? So this, all of these looks, getting through an ugly game and getting a victory, being able to come from, 0, being able to not move the ball at all to, then, still put up 17 points. I think all of that is important for Jimmy to get some confidence and as well as figure out some things for him, because if he's our starting quarterback, we need him to play at a level of a playoff team for us to be in the playoffs. And he needs as many reps. He needs to get as many looks as possible. And he needs to build that confidence in himself, because a 2.5-year starter, it's pretty much like Kyler Murray, right? The only difference is Jimmy's been in the league for 8 years. And Kyler Murray's really only been in the league for 2 years. So yeah, man. Overall, it was a little bit of a solemn kind of conversation, just like last week. But the phenomenal thing is we won. We're still undefeated. Next week we have the Packers on Sunday night. So this show probably won't happen because it's going to be a little bit too late for Jesse on the East Coast. However, I'm sure I'll get him on sometime during the week so we can chop it up about the game.